Good afternoon, everyone. This is Yuhin Hu from IBM Research. Today I'm going to talk about our work on predicting user engagement on Twitter with real-world events. So specifically, we will talk about the different factors that affect people's engagement with real-world events. In other words, we want to understand why people tweet, retweet, or comment about the real-world events. This is a joint work with Shelley Farnham from Third Places Technologies and Kartik from IBM Research. Before going to the details, I want to say that we want to present work in person, but unfortunately, we have this visa problem. That's why we have to present this work remotely. Okay, so people had a long history talking about events. Like this painting tells us that over 3,000 years ago, people in Greece, they already found a way to talk about different kinds of events. What they do is they get together in a town square in Sunday afternoon to exchange information on different events, such as what kind of topics in the events, who are involved, what the sentiment looks like, and so on. But due to the technologies at the time, most of their chatters were not saved. Therefore, it's hard for us to understand, to make sense of their behavior. Thanks to social media, which has created a spiraling virtual town square, and its scope is vast, and most importantly, all the chatters can be saved. So the vast amount of social media responses generated during events provide us a tremendous opportunities to analyze people's behaviors, to analyze their motivations, which is the main focus of this talk. So let's look at what kind of events people usually are talking about on social media, especially on Twitter. People can talk about all kinds of real-world events, and ranging from large-scale, very publicized events like the U.S. presidential debate between Obama and Romney, and also sports events like Super Bowl, and there are international events such as the missing flight of MH370, to the small-scale local events such as I-5 bridge collapse. And as you can imagine that given different events, people will generate a lot of responses. Some will generate millions of tweets shortly, some will generate less so tweets. In recent years, people from different research communities, like social computing communities, there's a general trend in studying how to leverage these vast amount of social media responses like tweets and to understand event better. And there's a lot of research on this, a lot of research topics such as mining topics from the events, mining sentiments from events, how to categorize users' behaviors during the event, also detect the event, like event detection using Twitter data, right? However, thus far, it is little to be understood about what kind of factors affect people's engagement. So what's the motivation? Why people want to talk about these events on Twitter? So this is the main focus, our goal here in this work. So we want to understand the factors that affect people's engagement with real-world events on social media, and we optionalize the engagement as posting or exchanging event-related tweets. So essentially, the engagement we are talking about here is the Twitter engagement, not the real-world engagement. I just want to be clear with that. And as you can imagine, that understanding people's engagement is very important and has a wide range of applications, such as marketing, political campaigns, citizen journalism, and so on. And for example, once we understand the people's engagement, then we can build event recommendation engines, and we can recommend events automatically to potential users who may want to talk about it. right? We can also build the recommendation engines to event organizers, and we can recommend the potential user to them, and such that these organizers can target these users and engage better with these users. So, what are the research questions that we want to address? So, in this work, we want to address four research questions. So, given the user, given the events that he's engaged, and given all the tools that he posted during the event, we want to understand first whether or not he's interested in this event because of its topics, and also we want to infer or understand whether this user is engaged because his friends are also posting tweets about it. So whether his engagement is influenced by his friends, by his social networks. And third, we want to understand whether his engagement is a reflection of the fact that this is a local event, right? So we want to understand whether the geographical proximity plays a role here. And last, we want to understand how and to what extent do different types of event affect the degree of the engagement. So we want to understand whether the sport event will draw more tweets or political events will, for political events, people will tweet more. So to address these four questions, we consider a lot of different factors. So inspired by the past literature on social science, linguistics, and computer-mediated communications, so we consider 17 variables, 17 independent variables from 5 different dimensions. One is the Twitter activities, one is tweet topics, one is the Twitter user types, and we also consider geolocations and social network structure. And the dependent variable here that we consider in this work, we have two dependent variables. One is the presence of a person's Twitter engagement. So whether or not this person tweet about this event. So it's binary, it's either 1 or 0. 1 means yes, 0 means no. And the second dependent variable is the degree of a person's Twitter engagement, which is the number of tweets that a person posted. So let's talk about the data. So we obtained the events from Twitter Firehose in August of 2014 using the event detection algorithm mentioned in Baker et al. ICWSM 2011. And since we need to understand whether the locations or the geographical proximity plays a role here or not, we need to infer both the event locations as well as the Twitter users locations. So for event locations, we hire a group of mechanical Turk annotators to read a sample of tweets and to use search engines to search for the location of the event. For the search the location of the detected event. So this simple approach actually worked quite well because most detected events actually are news events. So news agencies, blogs, they all report these events, and usually news agencies, when they report this event, they will also mention the locations. So our annotator can find these locations easily. And to infer the geolocation for Twitter users, we apply the location inference algorithm mentioned in Jalal Muhammad's work last year. And after we detect the event, after we detect the user's location, we verify using we verify them using their Twitter patterns. For example, for a user who lives in New York, and from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. normally it's a lunchtime, and if this user, the detect user say, I just had a very great dinner, which means that probably this user is not living in New York. So as a result, we have identified 643 events with their geolocations, and over 20,000 Twitter users who at least post 3 tweets in response to one of these events. Here are the procedures. We run both logistic regression and linear regression to understand the potential inference and the impact of our 17 variables. For the linear regression, we actually do two sets of linear regressions. One is to infer the degree of a person's Twitter engagement. The second linear regression is we separate the events into into 6 topics, 6 categories. So we basically identify the political events, the tech and science events, entertainment events, sports events, local events, and other events. So we separate these and we run the regression with respect to the different topics to see how and to what extent people's engagement are affected by the topics of the event. And more, please see the details in the papers. And here I want to highlight some of very interesting results and our implications. At the very beginning of the talk, I said we have 4 research questions that we want to address. And here are the answers to these 4 questions. So for the first one, does a person post tweets about the event because he's interested in events, in the topics pertaining to that event? And we find the answer is yes, that people do like to repeatedly talk about the topic that they are mostly familiar with. So, and for the second, whether or not he engaged in events because his friends are also talking about events, we found actually it's a mixed result depending on the type of events. For the local events, yes, indeed, this user is engaged because his friends are also posting about the event. We actually found a very strong effect here. This actually confirms the previous work in social science that they find the social ties is a very strong predictor of civic engagement. So we look at the local event that we detected, and most of them actually are about civic engagement, like neighborhood report things happening in their local communities. So that's why since it's a civic engagement, a lot of these Twitter user friends actually are either neighbors or people living in our community. Since they are talking about it, and our user under the influence of social ties, they are also they are more likely to talk about it. And the third question is if this engagement is a reflection of the fact that it is a local event happening in the neighborhood. So again, we find it's a mixed results. Especially, we found the degree of people's engagement actually is affected is affected by the geographical proximity only if the events are local events or sports events. So in other words, people are not likely to tweet about a football game happening in Los Angeles when he is living in New England area. So the last, so how and to what extent do different topics of the event affect the degree of person's engagement? So again, we find mixed results, and for certain events like political, entertainment, and science technology events, depend more of the content of past tweets versus the sports and the geolocation events. People's engagement depend more on the geolocations. So again, the more results and discussion are presented in the paper, and I want to end here, and thank you very much for listening to my talk. And if you have any questions, please send me an email. And the last thing I want to say is that I'm organizing the first workshop on event analytics using social media. This is in conjunction with ICDM this year, and the deadline is July 20th. So you're welcome to submit your work on this topic. Thank you very much.